What's going on, guys? Cam Dasani here. I'm here with my boy Frankie Tandurella, somebody who's gone from a high level engineer to making multiple six figures in high ticket sales, and really just here to talk about the transition because it's a transition that not a lot of people talk about, right? Going from a very prestigious, respected career to something that makes a lot of money, but not a lot of people know about or really have the idea to respect because they don't know much about it. So, Frankie, great to have you here, and would love to just start off with an intro on yourself and talk about, what led you to engineering in the first place, and we can just really build the conversation from there.
Yeah, for sure, man. First of all, I appreciate you having me on. I
Sure.
always like connecting with like-minded guys, all that kind of stuff. But just a little, background about me, how I got into engineering, and then what made me want to switch. So when I was younger, I was always a hands-on person. I always knew I was going to go into some kind of construction or something that had to do with designing structures, right? So I went to high school. I went to a tech school. So I did a carpentry there, did a lot of hands-on work. Right from there, I knew I wanted to get into some kind of prestigious, field within a construction. So I'm like, all right, let me get into a civil engineering, right? I know the infield stuff. I've been doing that for years now. I'm pretty good with numbers, right? So let's do this. It fits me pretty well. So I went through all 4 years, graduated, got my bachelor's in civil engineering, and then got a job right out of college. And I was a couple months into working this job, and I'm like, all right, this ain't it. This ain't it. I think I screwed up. And it's funny because a very, very small part of me felt that in college, but I never said anything. I never, looked into anything else, just because I thought that was like what I was supposed to do, right? Just like 99% of the other people. So I'm working this engineering job. I'm there for probably a year and a half. And then it got to a point where it's like, all right, like I'm putting the line in the sand, not doing this anymore. So I started looking online, for ways to make money, just like anyone else would. And I actually had a buddy of mine. I met him in a networking group, and he was getting into this thing called high ticket sales. Everyone's heard of like the e-com, everyone's heard of stocks, right, stuff like that, crypto, real estate, but high ticket sales. I'm like, all right, this is a little different. I haven't heard of this one before. So I asked him questions, started getting into it, and he sold me right there. I'm like, bro, like this sounds easy. Like what do you have to do to get into this? He's like, I'm gonna set you up with my mentor. All right, so I got a mentor. I want to say two years ago, and then joined that mentorship to learn high ticket sales changed the entire trajectory of my entire life. So that's what made me transition into it, and yeah, we're still in it, and we are thriving at the moment. So
That's amazing, dude.
yeah.
So, when did you, I guess, like from getting the mentor? Well, actually, let's take a step back because I think a lot of people they hesitate to even like proceed with mentorship, right? They're just kind of like, oh, like for example, I have a guy actually that Brian sent me that was like, oh man, like I already know sales, I already know how to interview. I just need you to like get me a job. I'm like, okay, watch. I introduced him to the companies. It's been 2 months, still no job. So obviously he's not who he thinks he is, right? So with that said, were you, it doesn't sound like you were very hesitant about the mentorship, or were you? And let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I knew it was 5K going into the call. So I guess I had that, on my side. Of course everyone's gonna have a little bit of fear when they're on some kind of sales call, right? That's just, human nature. Even if you're a multimillionaire, your heart's always gonna drop a little bit, right? But for me, I was just so hungry and just so like ready to make a change that I was willing to do whatever it took. And I guess for people who are in that situation where maybe they think they can do it on their own or maybe they are hesitating a little bit, like you're gonna save so much more time and money just learning from someone who is already at the level that you already want to get to. That way you're not trying to figure it out on your own and wasting your most valuable resource, which is time at the end of the day.
Yeah, makes sense. So, and yeah, and like if I think about even, I'm 30 years old now. I started software sales right out of college, which is high ticket in its own realm,
Right.
right? And if I didn't have not only my manager, who I got lucky with, right, in terms of a not a a free mentor for that sake, and then also the top performer at the company who just really happened to like me and is someone who's literally still a mentor to this day, somebody that's now making multiple seven figures as an employee, which is very hard to do because one, he worked his way up the ranks, got into a really, really good company that's now public actually, and is their top performer at the enterprise segment, which basically for people that don't know means he's selling some of the biggest packages at that company, right? So whether you take the software route or the traditional high ticket sales route, that type of money is possible, at companies like, I won't necessarily have to name for this call, but, as somebody who does, one, I have made multiple six figures selling for someone else. I know what that's like. I've seen people stay down in the path and not, start their own business like me and still make 50, 60, 70K a month, literally just taking sales calls and being so dialed in on their process because they've taken so many calls that it's not even a script anymore. The same way we're having this conversation now, and it's like, it's just an organic conversation because we've done this over and over.
Right. Exactly. 100%. I think when people are getting into sales, like they get into it and they believe they just have to follow script word for word. They think they're like this robot, but that's not how it is at all. I'm not saying don't go off your scripts. I'm not saying don't go off the frameworks, but once you do build up a level of confidence with it, then you can just free flow with it from there.
For sure. And I even think about like my last 4 sales calls this week. Everybody closed, but every call was different, right? And what I mean by that is we have a framework that we probably share, right? We have our 7 little things that we're like, oh, we need to check these things off to some extent. But some people need to be sold differently. And I even come into calls and I'm like, hey, especially as a founder now, it's a little different, right? Where I'm like, hey, I really want to get to know you because for this specific thing that I'm selling now, we only take 5 people a month. And that's true because we have spend a lot of one-on-one time with people. So I just want to make sure that you're that person that makes sense to take on and put in a lot of one-on-one effort in to make sure they have success, right? And I don't do sometimes I don't do my discovery the way we're taught, right? I do it a little bit, then I talk about my background and show them proof that what I'm saying is true. And then I do a little bit more discovery. And that's what happens when you become seasoned is it's no longer about the script. It's about just understanding a human being and getting them from where they're at to where they truly want to be, right? Because I tell people hey, for example, I have a futures program it's a 5-figure investment, right? And you're basically trading alongside my team of traders who used to work at Goldman Sachs. One of them is a rocket scientist, very, very, very qualified, right? They see the results, they see our P&L, they want to get on board. The reality is some people are not a fit for that in the context of, one, do you want to spend a couple of months really training 2 to 3 days a week with 4 other people in your onboarding group to really learn how to do this so then when you trade with us, you're not just clicking buttons blindly, you actually know what you're doing. Some people don't want to do that. And number 2, some people don't have 5 figures to invest. And if you don't have 5 figures to invest, that means you need to learn a high income skill that can allow you to save 5 figures so you can exponentially make more money than you ever have doing what I'm talking about. So it's really just to tie a knot on that. It's really just about figuring out what matters to that person and what's going to take them through the process of getting to where they want to go.
Yeah, exactly. And to touch on your point when you talked about learning a skill if you don't have any kind of money for yourself, right? That's completely okay. I'm sure. Me myself, I've heard so many stories of all these successful people, right? How they started off broke, and they all started off with the skill set of learning sales. All right, so that was actually part of the reason as to what made me want to get into it right out of engineering. Thank God, I didn't start off broke, but I knew that sales was that foundational skill to have if you want to become hyper successful, right? Every single person that I know of, look up to, watch, whatever it is, has that skill set. And I don't really think you can get successful without learning it, to be honest. So I think it's definitely something crucial to add into the tool belt. And on top of that too, there was something else I saw. This was a while ago. I don't remember where I saw it exactly, but it was basically saying skills over opportunity, right? And reason being is your skills, those aren't going to go anywhere, right? You're always going to have them. They're always going to be on your side. However, opportunities, you can depend on those to get to the level that you want, right? You can only depend on yourself, and that comes with skills essentially.
I agree with everything you're saying. Something I thought of was I think about people who don't know sales and how their lives look, regardless of what their corporate path is. Meaning, like, I know people that are in IT that are very, very, analytical and very book smart. But if you look at the rest of their life, they don't really have that much going on because they can't sell themselves to other people in any context on like a friendship, right? How did you and I meet? I sold myself to you.
Right.
And then you sold yourself back to me, and now I'm coming to your event at the end of the month, right? So, which is crazy how that's coming up in a couple of weeks. This month is flying by so fast.
I'm definitely excited for it. It's going to be a good time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But that's my point, is that like I know people that they'll go to the same sports bar every night after work, right? And it's the same life. They probably see people there that they want to talk to, but they have no idea how to talk to those people and quote unquote build a connection to and sell themselves on their value, right? Because at the end of the day, human interaction is all about value. If I came into your DMs the way I did and just said, hey, Frankie, I'd love for you to just teach me how to sell. You'd be like,
I wouldn't even reply.
what the fuck?
Would not even reply.
I came in, I offered value in the way that I did. You responded. It makes sense, right? And that's how friendships are built. That's how business relationships are built. I look at people in their dating lives, right? And they're like, oh, I just want to focus on my career. And I'm like, cool. You do realize if you are around a lot of hot girls, they probably know a lot of rich guys, right? That can hire you, right? And they're like, no. Okay, well then that's literally exactly how I became successful. When I was single, I was doing a lot of party promotions. And I knew all the club owners in my area, and I brought the hottest girls to the richest guys' tables, and that's how I met the richest guys, by offering value, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, you have to sell yourself. Even my lead trader at my company, I am teaching him sales because he has a tech company he's starting, and he needs to raise funding for it. So how do you raise funding? You sell your company, right? So you can't escape this. And I think people try because they're like, it's not me. And I'm like, well, is you what you want?
Right.
Because I didn't like who I was at 22. I was like, fuck, I can't cold approach a girl. I can't make money. I'm terrified of picking up the phone and calling anybody. I'm terrified of sending a voice message in the DMs because I'm worried about how my voice sounds.
Yeah.
Just an insecure 22-year-old. And I'm not saying I hate myself. I'm just saying I wanted change. And it seems like you were somebody that just was like, I'm ready to make a change. And you did, and you just like did what needed to happen to become the person you want to be, and like that's who you are now.
Yeah, 100%. Looking back, one of the things about sales that I love is, I mean, first off, when I first got into it, I was more so just getting into it for the money, right? That was just the only goal. But sales is kind of like a red pill to like life. Like when you learn what drives people, what they're looking for, like you see the world totally differently. And as soon as I got into it, that's when my social circle also started upgrading, because you understand how to communicate, you understand what people want, or you understand how to provide value, right? All that kind of stuff is super important. So that was one of like the benefits of sales that I didn't see coming when I first got into it. But now looking back, like you can put me into any city and I'll know how to network my way to the top, right? And it just comes down to that skill set of sales essentially. Even for the event, for example, like finding sponsorships for the event. Like I had to sell the event to them. I had to say, hey, look, this is what we're providing, right? This is what value you're going to get out of it, and then you work out some kind of deal that way. If I didn't know sales, if I wasn't doing high ticket sales, I probably wouldn't have been able to pull that off. All right. So it just bleeds into every other area of life. And it teaches you like this form of like, especially if you're commission only sales. Like I was talking to a friend about this recently, like it just turns you into a different person. Like I feel like everyone needs to experience a commission only job at least once in their lives.
For sure.
Because it will turn you into a different animal for sure. It's a grind, but once you get a rhythm, you're going to feel good about yourself for sure.
I'm happy you brought that up because I wasn't planning. I didn't have that thought of going into this call, but like I talk to a lot of people who like, they're like, I really like, oh, bro, I don't want to do commission only. Like I want a base, boom, boom, boom. Most people that have base salary jobs make less than the high performers in commission only. It's just the reality, because the reason why that's true, and as somebody who has a software sales background, which is heavy base salary, some commission, bro, when I close a $26,000 software deal, I only make like $3,000.
Right.
But when I sell my own commission only thing,
Right.
I keep way more.
Right.
When my closer closes a commission only deal for me, they make way more.
Right.
So, and keep in mind, when you're commission only, your leads are inbound
Yeah.
for the most part when you're at a good
Yeah.
company because they have to give you leads if you're commission only. It doesn't make
Right.
any sense. But in software, they give you a base, but they're like, you got a cold call. The reality is that in software, cold calling doesn't work a lot of the times unless you're calling a very specific persona. Like, for example, if you're selling, one of my buddies runs an AI company, they do voice agents for smaller businesses. Well, yeah, those smaller businesses pick up the phone because like they need money, right?
Right.
But if you call like a VP of marketing at a Fortune 500, you think he's going to answer your call?
Right.
And like care about your voicemail? No, he's not, bro. And we talk about all these strategies to like get through the gatekeeper in software and like do this, and it's like none of it matters. None of it matters.
Right.
So my point is that's why I teach and do job placement for high ticket because, and I have a list of companies
Yeah.
that I can place people at because you get inbound leads, you learn a process. You can get to the point where you're making 10K, 12K, 15K a month, 20.
Right.
It is commission only, but you're in a flow and you're talking to 5 inbound leads that want to talk to you every day instead of making 100 cold calls to people that don't answer
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
base.
Me, I never had that cold calling experience. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I feel like it's not a bad skill to have. I just don't have it, but I'm not mad at it, right? I'd much rather take inbound leads and just have a higher percentage chance of closing them, right? And then if you're commission only, it just motivates you to want to take even more calls, work even more, right?
Yeah.
And then before you know it, like you're doing 10, 15, right, 20 a month, and you're like shit, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful to be in a position where I was able to take that risk to get into commission only sales.
Yeah.
I started off at home, just in my hometown in Jersey, and then I moved down to Tampa with a commission only job. And then once I was living on my own, combined with the commission only job, that's when things really changed because it's like, well, shit, I got to make this work now. Like there's no option, right? But yeah, that's my thought process on it. So.
Yeah, and to tie the knot on that, like, look, cold calling is important. It's an
Right.
important skill to have, but you don't have it and you make multiple 6 figures, right? Now, the reason I say it's important is because it's important in the right context, meaning
Right.
my boy Prob, he has a real estate marketing company. They do 10 million a year in revenue.
Right.
A lot of that has started to be generated from cold calling. Why? Because real estate agents answer the phone.
Yeah.
They're answering the phone about their listings. So
Right.
cold calling works in this model.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily work very well in big corporate settings. For example, the guy I told you about that makes multiple 7 figures as an employee. He's like, bro, I don't cold call. Like, I write emails, but like
Right.
I have 50 accounts that I work with. I think he has less actually. I think he has like 20 because he's big enterprise.
Okay.
And he just manages, like he tries to sell to these companies, and you think he's gonna cold call a VP of IT or a chief security officer for
Never
what he
does that.
sells? It doesn't make any sense. These people are not answering the phone.
Right.
And any company that tells you to do that, I think they're still figuring it out or they're misleading you blindly, which is why, like, once again, I really love high ticket because there are good companies out there. There are also a lot of bad companies out there. The same way in software, there's bad companies out there that don't know what the hell they're doing. Yes, they'll pay you a base because they have venture capital funding, but you're not going to hit that on target earning OTE that you think you're going to hit. Because when you close a 50K deal and you only get 10%, you know how long it takes to close a 50K deal in software? It takes months.
Right. I bet. Yeah. I bet.
You know, sometimes people are ready and they'll close in a couple of weeks and it aligns with their budget, but it's just it's a different game in software, bro. So like, and you also have to be tied to a certain area. So like, realistically, most companies are in office or hybrid now. COVID is over. They want that in office culture. Nothing wrong with that. And you work for a company that's in office, and you even say it's worth it, but you're also in Tampa, bro. So your money goes far. When you make 150 in San Francisco, you're poor as shit. If you make 150 in Manhattan, you're broke. Well, guess what? This is where most software sales reps live. And that's what they make. Like high ticket, like the skill it's funny, not to like ramble on too long, but like the high ticket sales skill and process that I learned back in 2020 allowed me to excel in software sales at a higher level than any other software sales rep in my division.
Okay.
Because the training that we get in software sales at any company I've been at is just product. It's not sales. We know how to fucking sell. Which is why if you left your company today and came to one of my companies, you'd figure it the fuck out.
Yeah.
But like with software, it's very just product dependent and very industry dependent. Whereas high ticket, it's kind of all the same shit. And there's a little bit of like product service, like knowledge that you need to have. But at the end of the day, you're selling something ethical, expensive, valuable, that gets people an ROI. That's what high ticket is. The process to sell those things is relatively the same across all companies. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, honestly, I 100% agree with it. I saw Jeremy Miner talk about this a while back, and he's like, all right, if you want to be a surgeon, you would go to school for it. If you want to be an engineer, you would go to school for it. If you want to be a lawyer, you would go to school for it. But I feel like most sales reps out of college, like they never learn sales. They just start doing it and then just magically think they're going to become like top tier at it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That's one of the things I was thinking of too when I got into that mentorship a while back, 2 years ago. Like I'm not gonna try to teach sales myself. Like if I stayed in this engineering job, like I wouldn't try to learn engineering on myself and try to get to the top. Like it's never gonna happen, right? So that was one of the things I realized once I was getting into this kind of mentorship. I'm like, all right, let me just learn how to do it the right way instead of maybe getting a sales job some point this year and then by the end of the year I can talk, but I have no clue what I'm even doing, right? Look how much commission you left on the table, right? By not just learning it the right way, right off the bat, basically.
Yeah, I agree. And what's interesting is college is the ultimate high ticket sale, right? They've been selling us on this for years, which is, hey, no guarantee other than the piece of paper if you get these grades.
Right.
You can pick whatever major you want, and we really won't guide you or steer you anyway. If you want to major in art history, you can. And we don't give a fuck. Imagine if your boss like came in and said, hey, Frankie, I want you to sell in this way that will lead to nothing. That's what an art history degree is. Right. We all know it. We just can't say it because we're soft and we live in a liberal fucking whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Okay. But the reality is I studied sociology. It did nothing for me. College did something for me in the context of I learned how to drink responsibly. I learned how to
there you go.
Sleep with women and date and like do my own laundry and like take care of myself when I was sick, right? Cook maybe a little bit. Right. But if you're not studying something valuable, the 6-figure investment is not worth it. I have a high ticket sales client right now. She's actually a girl, one of my few girl clients. And people say, oh, are women good at sales? Yeah, women are great, but women just don't work with me because that much. They work with women, female coaches because they resonate with them more. Most men want to be me, so they work with me. Most women look at me and they're like, oh, he already has a girlfriend. Sure, cool, fuck off. But like at the end of the day, they don't want to work with me.
Right.
So, but I have this girl client, dope ass chick. She has a consulting background, big consulting, worked at a big, like well-known company that if I say the name, everybody knows, but I won't say it to keep her privacy. She, damn, I lost my train of thought. Oh, fuck, what was I talking about, bro? I don't even edit these, so this is all going to be on, but, hold on. What was I talking about? Oh, she paid like for a private school degree that led to her consulting career. She made like 130 at her peak, got laid off during COVID, has kind of been like doing her own thing, trying to figure it out ever since, and was like very hesitant for a little bit about investing what I charge, which is way less than what she paid. But I'm like, are you broke today? I asked her. She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, your investment wasn't worth it. Why are you broke?
Right.
Well, because she made 130 living in fucking New York.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So to learn high ticket, and now she's in my program, right? So, and she's going to be able to live wherever she wants. If she wants to live in Tampa, you're balling on 130, bro. Not rich as fuck, but
you get by pretty good in Tampa.
You get by, you can live a good life, you can eat out, do what you want. The point is you have that freedom. And once you get to that 150, 200, bro, in Tampa, that takes you pretty fucking far.
Yeah, definitely. Although Tampa, it is starting to climb up there with everyone moving down there. It's one of those hotter cities right now for sure.
I agree.
Um,
I agree. I'm interested. Shit.
yeah, dude, I would definitely recommend it when you come down, next weekend or 2 weekends from now. You might be sold, so
I think
be aware of that. But
I think I will.
we're
I'm
gonna have a
already
good time.
watching video. And like, bro, the people there seem cool.
Yeah,
I think one of the things in the Bay Area that you get, and I'm from here, and I built a lot of social like circle here, and I've
yeah,
hosted big events here, and that's why I'm still here. My family's here, my girl's here. You know, we have a life here, but I'd be way richer living somewhere else,
yeah,
and I don't plan on ever buying a house here because the prices are so inflated that it just doesn't make fucking sense. Which is why like we've been traveling looking for
yeah.
places that we really want to be living. Whether it's we checked out Dallas, we really like Dallas.
Right,
Tampa is coming next, right? I'm going to
right.
Charlotte.
Yeah,
So there's places that like we're very open to relocating to because I've noticed in SF and New York, people are so much more stressed because even though they're making money, they have to work so much harder to stay afloat.
right.
Whereas in a place like Tampa, like these people are at the beach, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean, now that you bring up like your environment and everything like that, like I always knew it was true when they said like you become a product of your environment, but like after this past year just being in Tampa, like everything got better without even trying. Like my friends got better, right? Being around more successful people, right? Higher value people who have a vision, right? Not people who are just trying to go out there drinking, every weekend or whatever it is. Don't get me wrong. There's people in Tampa who still do that kind of stuff. But I'm at a point now where I know more people in my circle who are entrepreneurs or do something with marketing or sales, etc. As opposed to people who work 9 to 5s, right? I really don't know if I can count 5 people on my hand, maybe 10 people that work corporate jobs in Tampa. It's just not something I see a lot. I think the reason is I don't know if you knew this, but Tampa, it's one of those cities that's in one of the most worst financial crises. Reason being is
no.
because everyone's moving down there and there's not enough job opportunities opening up. So most of the people you see down there are in something remote like high ticket sales or in something where they have their own business that they're building up or content creation, something like that. Just because like they can control their own finances that way. Hence why everyone down there, or for me at least, I haven't really met that many people in corporate. So yeah, it's definitely going to be good to be around those types of people, right? Like I said, you're just going to turn into the next person that you're surrounding yourself with. All right, so just being
Yeah,
around those types of people to open up my mind to so many things, right? It's put more money in my pockets, helped me create so many different opportunities. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm just super grateful to be in an environment where you can thrive like that, essentially.
100%. And the reality is like every area has its own
Yeah,
type of environment. Like for example, like if you go to Miami, they have gyms for content creators,
yeah,
right? Like it's like
crazy.
the gym where you can film content and nobody will come and say, "Hey, you can't record in
Right,
here." Right?
right,
Very big thing in the Bay Area.
right.
Very absurd to record content in some of the gyms. And I'm like,
That's wild. Yeah,
right? So it's
yeah,
like we, if you want to be in software, come to the Bay, right? If you want to be
right,
in venture capital, come to the Bay. It's here, right? I have those contacts, which is why I help a lot of people raise money for their
right,
companies too, because I can just introduce you to the right people that I've known my entire life.
right.
Um, but like you just said, in Tampa, there's a lot of remote, high-ticket content creation going on. There's a lot of stuff like that in Miami. There's a lot of stuff like that in like Houston and Dallas and Austin and like there's these tier two cities, which I say that respectfully. Tier two is good. You want to live in a tier two city
Yeah,
because it's the lifestyle you want at a cost that's less. Like you
yeah,
said, it's
yeah.
hiking, but let's be real. Tampa's not the Bay Area in terms of
Right.
price. And
Right.
that's a great thing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you can live a better lifestyle on less
Right.
and connect with people that if that's where you want to go in life, internet entrepreneurship,
Right.
Tampa's a great place to do it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been to all the major cities at this point, like Miami, Vegas, New York, LA. And it's those tier two cities that just hit harder for me. Like obviously Tampa, I live in Scottsdale. I love Scottsdale. I would definitely go back there. It's just those kind of cities that I don't know. There's just something about it where I can't even put words on it exactly, but it just feels like a much better environment for me, at least, to be in. I don't know if I'm someone that would ever live in somewhere like Vegas or Miami or New York or something like that. I did live in Vegas for 2 months last year with someone I know in the high ticket sales space, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, it's not something I can see myself living in long term at all. So
No, and the thing about Miami too is like I think it's a great place to visit, but what are you doing? Like, if you want to live there, just be prepared to spend way more
yeah,
money than you want to. And
right,
I think even rich guys tell me that they're like, yeah, bro, it's really expensive to live here.
right,
No one in Tampa has ever said, yeah, bro, it's really hard to live here. Like, it's really
yeah,
like people say that in the Bay and New York all the time, bro.
right,
And before we get, because I know we only have 10, 15 more minutes left, I want to dive into
sure.
post mentorship. What did that look like for you? It seems like you worked with Minor.
With
Or
what?
no? Did you work with Jeremy Minor, or who did you work with?
I didn't work with him. I took one of Jeremy's mentorships, but the mentorship that I'm talking to you about, it was a different one.
It was
I've,
different.
I've
Okay.
done multiple sales mentorships.
Wow. Okay, so I didn't even know that. But guys, someone that's invested thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, into his sales career, that's what gets you within 2 years to texting me saying, "Yeah, bro, I'm in Tampa. I work in office, and it's worth it, and we make really good money here." Right? You gotta pay to play. Like, unless you want to take the slow route, and that's
Costs to
fine.
be the boss.
It costs to be the boss. It does.
Yeah.
And my question for you is, what was the path like post that first mentorship that you talked about? Walk me through that to like where you are today a little bit, and let's see what questions come out of that.
Yeah. So when I finished that first mentorship, um, everyone inside of the community, they were more so like beginners at sales. So even when I finish it up, like I didn't realize the path that it would lead me down, right? I thought, all right, I'll learn the sales skill and then I'll just get onto an offer and make some decent money for myself. It's not like my sales skills were like top tier or anything like that, and I'm still not a top 1%er. I still have years to go to get to that point, and that's okay, right? That's what makes the journey fun. But once I finished the first mentorship, I had a good foundation to get into a role where I can make 5 to 10K per month. So I had the skill set to be able to do that. And then I did, right? I hopped on an interview with an offer. I ended up working with Michael Sartain for a little under a year. I think it was 10 months or so. And on that offer, they had a really good sales training system as well. So a lot of my sales skills also came from that. And then once I left that company, that's when things were really started taking off. That's when I had my feet wet in the industry. People knew my name. It was easy for me to get offers. I was able to hop on interviews with confidence. I was able to hop onto an offer and like know what I was doing. And keep in mind, once I left Sartain's offer, I just moved to Tampa. So I had to make it work, right? My first time living on my own, right? I'm like, all right, I'm leaving this offer, like I'm commission only, right? I'm living my own here. Like I got to make this work. So that past year or so, that's when I really turned into an animal when it came to sales and just really expand my comfort zones. I forgot what the question was, but I hope that answered it.
Yeah. No, that I mean, look. Long story short,
Yeah.
he started at a good company, guys. If you don't know Michael Sartain, one of the biggest in the social circle space,
Right.
got really good sales training. Very similar to my path in software. I got really good sales training at a good company, right? Then, and you went directly to Tampa. Basically, started working for the company you work at now. Tell us a little bit about that company. You don't have to say too much if you don't want to, but just in terms of like, what are you guys even offering? What do you guys sell?
Yeah, so they teach people how to build businesses, essentially online businesses. They're one of the best in the space. This is the best offer that I've ever been on. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. There's definitely lots of opportunities for leadership roles, which I'm working towards at some point this year. There's going to be opportunities to get even higher than that, right? I want to say too much, but it's definitely one of those offers that is pretty pristine in the space. And if you have an opportunity to know someone on that offer that can get you that job, or have an opportunity to even network with the people in that kind of circle, I would definitely recommend it. They're going to be at the event on the 31st, so you'll meet them and everything like that. Sure, they'd love to connect with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a solid offer to be on, and super grateful to have had my network and my sales skills to be able to land it when the opportunity arose.
For sure. And guys, that's one of the reasons I'm going to Frankie's event is because, as you guys know, um, I train people in sales and I place people at companies within my network. I have a long list of companies that I already work with. I do want to work with Frankie's company as well because it is a really good offer. Even though it is Tampa location dependent, the reality is who doesn't want to live in Tampa and make six figures? Like, who doesn't want to work in Tampa selling something really cool that works, is all inbound, and is multiple six figures potential on income? Am I saying anything that's wrong?
No, that's
So,
that's accurate.
yeah, I mean, yeah, man. What would you say, I guess, just to kind of wrap things up here? I think this has been great. I think we've dropped a lot of gems. What would you say to somebody who is stuck? Well, first of all, what would you say to somebody who doesn't know how to sell? Do you think they should learn sales? Do you think like there's some people that like don't have what it takes? And let's be brutally honest here, because like I'd love to get into a little bit of a debate on this if there is conflict of
Yeah, there might be.
there might be. What do you think? Like, do you think
Yeah.
everybody should go down this path? Do you think some people shouldn't? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah.
I think anyone can do it. However, I don't think everybody will like it. I don't think there's limiting beliefs when it comes to sales. For me, I'm probably one of the people who had like a ton of limiting beliefs around the sales skill. And when I was younger, I didn't have like really good social skills. I was super introverted, and I let those beliefs in myself, right, tell me even from a young age that I was never going to do sales, and hence why I got into engineering, which is the complete opposite. Right. So if you think you're too introverted, or you think you might not be like smart enough for sales, or you're not sure what you're doing, I promise you every single belief that you have, it's a limiting belief. It's a lie. I've overcame all of them, and I'm making six figures doing sales, right? Coming from engineering. And this is only a 2-year difference. It's nothing crazy yet. Right. So any limiting belief you have around it, it's a lie, right? I just don't buy it, basically.
Yeah, I'm with you except for this one caveat.
Yeah.
The one caveat is this. There are certain people that are going to take longer to get good than
I
others
agree.
just based on who they truly are.
Yeah.
There are certain people that I refuse to take on as clients because I know I cannot take them anywhere. And these are very, very rare cases of speech impediments, stutters, sharp, unattractive accents, for lack of better terms, that just
Yeah.
won't do well selling to Americans. I think we all know what that means.
Right.
Other
Yeah.
than that, man, like most people can do it. And if you have a limiting belief that is going to break that, that is going to hold you back from pursuing that, then you have to ask yourself, like, what can you do? Right? Because, like, if you're not happy with where you're at, then what are you going to do to change that? Are you going to try to do something different, or are you going to keep doing more of the same and expect a different result? And this is like, you can say it's a sales tactic, but it's also the truth. Like, how can you expect to do more of the same and get a different result if what you're doing isn't working? There's no logic behind that. There is only emotion that holds people back from moving forward in the direction they need to go. And that's why I say, look, if you don't have 10K to 15K to 20K saved, you probably don't have a high income skill, because otherwise you would. Okay.
Right.
So sales is a fast way to not get rich and balling out of control right away, but it's a skill that will compound on itself. As someone who made 120 grand his first year out of college, to 160 in my second job, to 200 to 250 to now 500 plus, just off of selling, right? Then I have other things going on in the trading world that make me an extra multiple six figures a year in income, investing, so on and so forth, right? So the point is, if you are one of those people, or you resonate with what I'm saying, you can come talk to me. We can train and we can get you job placed, right? I have a lot of people in other people's boot camps that come in my DMs like, oh, I'm trained. I'm like,
That's one of the hardest part, by the way, is finding a job in the high ticket sales space. You can have all the sales skills, but if you don't know how to find that job, it doesn't matter. That's
exactly,
huge. Yeah.
exactly.
But
And we have people like on my list of clients that they've networked on their own. We teach them how to do that, to enter the right groups and reach out the right way. But we also have a list where we just get you interviews, right? So we prep you for those interviews. Keep in mind, these companies want people trained by me and my team, right? So it's almost like you're going to get the job. It's just a matter of time, right? And now on the other side of things, if you are somebody that's already making really good money in your career, we've talked a lot about sales here, but how do you exponentially increase your results in terms of finances? Well, what I did after I made a lot of money in sales is I started hiring people, and I found the best people to help me invest my money strategically for not only weekly and monthly returns, but actually daily returns. And we've gotten to the point where we're making $2,000 to $5,000 a day, leveraging other people's capital. So we're not even risking our own money, but we're making 2 to 5K a day in profit. And if you think that's too good to be true, then you just don't understand the industry in which I'm talking about, which is not a focus of this podcast. But if you look through my content, you'll see I have a team of traders that used to work at Goldman. Okay. They trade for me. We help mentor people so they can copy the same trades as us. Very simple. When we win, you win as well. When we lose, you lose as well. Everybody's skin is in the game doing the same thing. And this industry is real and this exists, right? The same way high ticket sales is real and it exists. So whichever side you're on of this spectrum, just know like there is a way to get to the top of where you want to go. You just need to start, right? If you're somebody that's already crushing it in sales and you're like, damn, I'm making 15, 20K a month, this is great, but I really want to make way more, but I don't have the time to like do more necessarily because my job, it takes a lot of my time. Well, I have something for you. If you're somebody that is just starting from scratch and it's kind of like, or in a shit career and like is like, fuck, I don't know what to do, sales is a great place to start. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly the path I followed. It's not like my job was shit or I had a good engineering job. It was more so the lifestyle that was shit, and I knew getting into sales, the lifestyle that came with it. I knew I could have, some level of control over my income. I knew I could do it remotely. I knew it was going to give me these skills to be able to like do other things, to open up my mind. I just knew that there's so much inside of sales other than just making money. Right. And that was a huge part of my personal development as well. Things even inside of my personal life really started taking off once I made that leap to get into high ticket sales. If I stayed as an engineer here in New Jersey, nothing really would have changed. So I think the two best decisions I've ever made in my life are one, getting into sales, and then two, moving to Tampa. And we'll see what happens this year. So I'm excited.
Cool, dude. Well, where can people find you?
My Instagram, Frankie _Tandurella. So FRANKIE _TANDURELLA. So shoot me a DM, follow, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, if you guys want to learn about sales from somebody who's still in high ticket sales and actually works for a good company, Frankie's a great person to talk to, which is why I wanted to chat with him today. If you're ready to cut through the noise and just get that mentorship that you want, get into a good company, get trained, make sure you get to 10K a month in income, you can DM me, okay? Either way, we're here to help you guys. Frankie, it's been real, man, and thanks for the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you here in 2 weeks.
Hell yeah, bro. Talk soon.